Welcome back, YouTube, and welcome to the year of the Mamba. Today we'll be starting my Kobe special, celebrating the year of Kobe, and we started the Kobe 8s. A quick note before we start: if you like what I do, please consider like and subscribe to the video. That would tell the YouTube algorithm that I'm doing the right thing, and I should keep doing it. Another note: this video is not sponsored by any company. Although I will be praising some specific products from some companies, it'll be really nice if someone wants to send something my way. So, without further ado, let's talk shoes. Kobe 8s remain one of the most beautiful basketball shoes made in the Kobe line. The protro, however, is also one of the most controversial given its changes from the original. I won't get too much in depth into the changes that were made to the Kobe 8 protro. However, there are a few things that sticks out with the Kobe 8 protro that most people simply can't get past, me included. So my project this time will be make Kobe 8 great again. In all honesty, the shoe is not as great as legend claims to be. I mean, Kobe literally tore his Achilles wearing these. So you can say that these are good shoes, but there's definitely flaws within the design itself. The misconception probably came from simply how beautiful this shoe is. It is a minimalist basketball shoe with a lot of features that is way ahead of its time in 2012. With the hype surrounding the OG Kobe 8s, the Protro's release and announcement was definitely an exciting event. However, once a lot of people tried on the Protro, they're severely disappointed. There are definitely some changes made that maybe is not so popular with the crowd. Let's start with them. Number one, the fit for the Protro is more narrow than the original Kobe 8s. As you guys know, I am true to size 9.5. I have to wear a 10 in these, so it is slightly longer than what I like, but they're acceptable given how tightly it wraps your feet. The cushioning for the Protro and the original is a drop-in midsole. They started this whole Kobe system, and the Kobe 8s featured the Lunarlon when it was first released, a really nice, close to the ground, low impact protection, out of the way cushion. But it also bottomed out very easily and it was not very durable. The trade-off is the court feel for the Kobe 8s were exceptional. With the Protro, they replaced the Lunarlon with a much more durable cushion called React. Those who follow the channel knows that I don't like React, and neither do a lot of people. React to a lot of people were downgrade to the original Lunarlon, and it was also heavier than the original Lunarlon, making this minimalist shoe that was extremely lightweight at the time a lot heavier. At 10, they weigh in at 380 grams. Not a heavy shoe by any means, but certainly a far cry from the original Kobe 8s. Inheriting the Kobe 8's feature, the Kobe 8 Protro, although beautiful, is an outdated design. It was well ahead of its time in 2012, but in today's world, this is no longer going to cut it. Let's start with the heel. The heel to toe transition for the Kobe 8 Protro and the Kobe 8s was not great. In today's world, the ball-shaped heel does a much better job. Or, if they do surround the heel with a much more square shape or ladder shape, the material surrounding the heel would be a lot softer to create that same impact and visibility. Of course, being a 2012 shoe, you can't expect much, but what that means is that the flat outsole with its heel creates this transition. Unfortunately, it's very difficult for me to fix that problem, and I'm not about to ruin one of my favorite shoe in terms of look. Regardless of how much problem the Kobe 8 has, I like the shoe's look so much, I actually got a second pair, which I think some of you have seen in videos. And being a fan of Kobe, this is the type of design philosophy that Kobe's line always has, so I really like it. But unfortunately, I am here to fix this problem. The first problem, heel transition, very difficult to fix. I'm not going to go to try to do that. But I will fix the second problem, which is the React drop-in insole. Those who know, React is a mixed foam with EVA and TPE, creating this semi-bouncy, semi-durable foam. The React drop-in midsole for the Kobe 8s is not tuned very well. Initially, when you step into it, it's like a brick. It takes probably 3 or 4, maybe 2 or 3 sessions to break into them. Once it breaks into, it becomes a lot softer. The forefoot becomes a lot closer to the ground, and the heel becomes a little bit better for impact protection. So all in all, is a decent cushion, but that's where the problem is. It is a heavier cushion than the original Lunalon. The cushion itself can only be described as mediocre. The mixed EVA TPE React has a mediocre return, a mediocre impact protection, mediocre everything. It's just not fit for Kobe's name. So when you put it into this shoe, it really takes away the identity for the Kobe 8s. For me, I want this shoe to perform as nimble as possible given its transition problem. So how do I achieve that? At first I thought, you know what, why don't we maximize the impact protection instead and try to make this shoe at least comfortable. So I tried the Zion 3. Problem with the Zion 3 drop-in midsole is that it is a full bed cushion with a TPU counter and a very chunky zoom air in the front. Definitely a comfortable ride, but the interaction between the TPU torsional plate and the carbon plate, torsional plate on the Kobe 8s, was not good. It created a lot of arch pain. Cushion is a great impact protection foam with very, very little energy return. I would say it actually really ruined the Kobe's experience, as in this no longer felt like a Kobe. So I went out there and tried out a whole bunch of different ones. Some of them are not even mine. I just borrowed from some of my hooper friends. I tried out the AG4 with a 361 quick CQT foam in it and the carbon plate. It was okay, but that drop-in midsole is quite cheap. So when you put it in here, it felt like this was like a styrofoam shoe. It kept making squeaky sound, so didn't like that. Took that out. Tried on the 808 4 Ultra full-length boom. That was too high, so I had heel slippage in it. So that was no good either. Finally, I landed with this. So this is Series Player 1 Quick 2.0. The Quick 1.0, I have to say, is absolute garbage. The EVA foam is almost like this junk over here. Useless, and yes, close to the ground, but really offers nothing but close to the ground. You might as well wear a bare bone shoe. The 2.0, however, used their new formula, which is an ATPU, which is like a bouncier boost from Adidas. The forefoot is also pretty light, so it's very close to the ground. So putting this thing in, I tried it for about 3 or 4 sessions. I have to say, like this, they did a great job with the Quick 2.0. And once you put that in here and you step your foot into it, it's bouncy, it's quick, it's nimble. It really solves a lot of the problem for the cushioning of the shoe. If I compare it to the React is heavy, it's dense. This thing is just bar none one of the best foam out there for any drop-in shoe. However, being a chunky, older uncle that needs a lot of impact protection, after a few sessions I realized the heel was not good enough to protect myself. I've landed it on my heel a couple of times and it actually started to hurt. So I realized that if it was a lighter guard, this is definitely a great foam. But for a chunky uncle like myself, I need a little more. But what do? I started looking through my own shoe collection and see what I can salvage. And lo and behold, what I found was something like this. This is off another shoe that I would suggest in a second. But some of my skate dunk lows have a heel zoom unit. So what I did with them is that I took a shitty garbage insole and I scraped it as low profile as possible to minimize weight and minimize impact. I put in the heel zoom unit onto the insole, and I also carved out a starburst unit from the GT Cut 2, which gives a little bit more bounciness when you're taking lateral and diagonal steps. And I slid them in. I slid the Quick 2.0 on top of it. The weight of this setup is still 10 grams lighter than the React alone. So it's still a lightweight shoe. Now I have both basically a boost-like foam with zoom unit on the bottom. And I can tell you, this thing is absolutely amazing. It makes this shoe as much fun to play in as the Kobe 6. And I would stop there, but I'm not that person. So I went again to dig through my collection and found this. This is my Boom insole that I use for the GT Cut 2. It's actually taken from a shoe called Speed 11. I think I have that here. Yes, this is Speed 11. It is significantly thinner even than the Quick 2.0, and the forefoot is just enough cushion to give you that little bounciness. Boom is just such a great cushion. So I thought to myself, with the heel zoom already doing a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of impact protection, why not shave off some more cushioning to see if I can make this shoe even lower profile? And it works. I am so glad to say that with the combination of the heel zoom and the boom foam, there's enough protection in the back. With the zoom unit in the front and a low profile boom in the front, creates a very bouncy feeling. When you have this in the shoe, this is so much fun to play in. The transition problem still exists, but the foam setup makes it a joy to actually run up and down the court, jump, leap. After all, the Kobe 8s, despite the transition problem, is still a very good shoe. Would I recommend this to anybody? Absolutely not. A quick baseline to start is that the Kobe 8s, it's $180. This shoe by itself on its baseline is not worth $180. We buy it because it's Kobe. We don't buy it because it's a great performance basketball shoe. At $180, I can probably name 4 shoes in this stack alone. That's better than this one. But we're not here to talk about prices. That's why we started this fun little project. The second part, to make it even baseline good for a lighter guard, you need to pay another $60 for the Quick 2.0 insole. So that's now $240 for a lighter guard. For someone like myself, who needs a little more, I need to create this janky zoom unit. Ripping out this zoom unit, if you don't have it on hand, you can buy it on Chinese websites, but if you want an official Nike unit, you will have to rip it out of one of these insoles. So one of these insoles comes from some of your skateboard dunk lows, and there's another shoe here that I have that I bought recently, which I love the look of. It's a dancer skater blazer low, and this is probably your best bang for buck because this shoe costs about, I think, $70 on sale, and it comes with 2 sets of these, so you can mess around with it however you like. And then the forefoot, although optional, the zoom unit does add a little bit more bounce to your steps, and to do that you need a pair of GT Cut 2, which again, they're not as popular anymore, so they're cheaper, but it'll still cost you around $80 a pair. So that's another $150 on top of the $60 to create this setup. And on top of that, $180. And finally, if you want something like this, I have to buy the Speed 11, which is by itself another $90. So all in all, this is definitely a fun project, and it made this shoe part of my rotation and a very fun shoe to play in. But all in all, to get this working costs you close to $400 US, and that's enough to buy 2, 3, 4 pairs of performance basketball shoes. Not exactly the best use of money. And it still doesn't solve the problem with the transition. So even after $400, it's still not the best basketball shoes alive. But if you're like me, you're a Kobe fan, if you're like me, you really love how the Kobe 8 looks, but you just can't stand playing in them for very long, it is a fun little project. Anyways, that concludes this video. Thank you for watching. And if you have any suggestions for me for future Kobe projects or any shoe review, leave it in the comment below. Remember to stretch. Until next time.